What is up, family? Welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count Live with me, your host and international award-winning Make Every Second Count speaker, Jeff Martinet Jr. Now, each and every time I said that, I get just a little tingle on the inside. I love it, absolutely love it. But tonight we actually have a fantastic guest that is going to teach us about the dominance which is created through discipline in life and how he reached the new heights with his discipline. So I ask you guys, please, please, please share this episode out. Tag friends in the comments. I don't mind how you do it. Also, keep the thumbs up, hearts, frowny faces, cry faces. Heck, you can even create or give us the angry face. I don't mind. Just help us trick the algorithm on one of the socials that we're on. And also keep the comments coming. As Dr. Ruben West says, we want to have a conversation and not just make a presentation. But with no further ado, I would like to bring to the stage Mr. Wilson himself. And no, he's not a volleyball. You get that joke there, don't you?
I got that one, of course.
All
Castaway.
right.
Yeah. Wilson's known
Well,
for many things.
hopefully that people out there actually understood it too, because I
Right.
have some younger audience members that won't get that, but that's okay. So, Kevin, I have to ask, would you please, please, please go through a short introduction about yourself? Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you do, even though I know that's going to take you like 10 minutes to tell what all you do.
Well,
I'm going to be inviting a few people here on my phone, so I
fantastic.
am
Well,
listening, but
yeah,
I'm
sure.
looking down.
I get it, Jeff. No worries. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. Great to see you again, Jeff. Um, my name is Kevin Wilson. I live in Topeka, Kansas. I got two young kids. Well, I say young. One just turned 18. I got a 16-year-old, 18-year-old. And, I've really managed to create a good family balance. And that's changing gears a little bit as it's getting older. But over the years, I've owned some different companies. I own a medical company, some real estate properties, done different things in business. Have been able to kind of sell some of those off and be a very present stay-at-home father. But I also own a martial arts school. I'm an 8th degree black belt, been training in the martial arts since 1993.
Wow.
So I teach both youth and adults different martial arts stuff. I've authored some books. And, really one of the things that I'll probably talk to a little bit about today is kind of my journey on my personal finances. We all have different relationships with money. And I realized when I started my medical company that my personal relationship with money wasn't the healthiest. And I didn't really understand why. So I kind of took it upon myself to really create a strong avenue towards educating myself on personal finance strategies. You know my story, Jeff. I went from a negative net worth to millionaire to multimillionaire, and it's not the way that people oftentimes think. I don't have a plane, I don't have a yacht. I just make smart decisions day to day, intentional decisions, live below my means, and just do things that I really feel like anybody can do. So I spend a lot of time out advocating towards that education and helping people get a better relationship with money and make better choices with their money for the long term success, and then to give them options in life, because there's many choices we made that we weren't strapped to financial decisions around it. And when you have those reins off of that, you can actually make decisions that you want to make based on things you're doing in your life. So that's the short version. Did I keep it under 10 minutes? That's the short one.
Sure. I really don't mind because I know you have a lot of accolades and things that you can tell the audience all about. So that's why I said it's going to take 20 minutes to go through a short introduction here. But so I happen to know from my own journey. See, I know you know, but I don't know if everybody out there knows. So, at the age of 17, I spent 2.5 months in a coma after a severe car accident. I was in the hospital 3.5 months, and they told me I might never walk again, but I do now. And I try to help the generations that are either older than me or younger than me find out that they can be happy now with what they have because what they have is clear. So I know that life has a tendency to put things in our way, tries to hold us back from climbing that ladder of success. So has there been anything in your life that has tried to hold you back from climbing that ladder of success?
I'll answer that maybe not in a way that you expect, but I want to kind of look at the reverse of that. What I think lots of times people struggle with when they're trying to climb. And now, obviously, you said your story is a unique situation, and everybody has something they're grappling with. But I
Yeah.
think lots of times people they get the wrong people in their circle, and I think that's what holds a lot of people back. Sometimes those circles develop either out of a marriage or out of maybe friendships from high school or work friendships, and we carry these circles with us. And I really believe it's always my goal to be the dumbest guy in the room. I really want to try to make sure that I'm really speaking with, collaborating with people that are know more than me, that can pour into me. And when we're in those unhealthy circles, sometimes we have a challenge. I've been fortunate because I've been married for 27 years now, and my wife is very supportive in everything that I do, and I her. We decided to raise a family together very intentionally. We it's not perfect, of course, but we've got great kids. I think that so many times we don't put enough emphasis to recognize that we're collaborating with the people that can really drive our success. It's funny because I even have a thing in my finance course where I talk about it. I said, when you're trying to make changes in your finances, and you tell your friend, your friend says, "Hey, let's go out to lunch," and you tell your friend, "You know what? I've created a budget. I'm really not eating out right now. So instead of going out for lunch, why don't we pack a sandwich and go on a picnic?" And my what I talk about in the course is you get one of two responses. You get the healthy circle response, and that is the friend that says, "Man, oh, that's great. I'm proud of you for trying to make some changes. Tell me more about it. Let's figure out. I know a great spot we can go to." That's the healthy circle person, But then you get the unhealthy circle person that says, "Man, what are you doing? What are you trying to save money for anyway? Come on, man. I want to get a steak. Come on, let's go get some lunch." And I just tell people, go have that steak with them, and then let that be your last lunch with them, because they're not a part of what your circle is. They're not supporting the things that are important to you. And the true friend to really inquire what it is you're doing will encourage you. So I think I've been very fortunate. I've had good people in my circle. And I think to answer your question in a little bit different way, I think that's one of the things that's actually really helped propel me forward in a situation that's really held some people back.
Wow. I like that. I've never had anyone answer that way. I know that that has been one of the answers towards the end of the show when you ask for suggestions for people trying to actually get through what they're going through. But I've never had anybody talk about that in their adversity. And I like the way that you put that out there because I think it's something that a lot of people don't think about. Now, I know that the person that brought us together was Dr. Reuben West.
Sure.
And you've known Dr. West for a long time. And I mean, a long, long time.
Yes.
I'm not saying they're old. I'm just
No, but it's been a long time.
yeah. And then I met him probably in 2016. So
Okay, that sounds
I
about right.
guess that's been quite a long time now too.
Sure.
But that's cool because he is a person that likes to elevate those around him.
He is.
And I know that he has been involved in how many of your businesses?
Uh, three primarily. We own a martial arts school together still. And yeah, he and I started a medical company together, and we've owned some properties together too. We had a small management property or management company with properties. So yeah, three, unless I'm leaving something out, but that's been the three main ones at least that we've, and and you're absolutely right, Jeff. He is, and again, I feel fortunate that he's been one of the people in my circle for as long as he has. He likes to mention, and I kind of forget this sometimes, but he likes to mention that, we've had those business relationships. So it's kind of tricky because when we were training in the martial arts, we had the same first instructor. Then we kind of changed gears, and I actually put my lineage underneath him. I wanted to train with him. He kind of had a falling out with his instructor, so he started teaching on his own, and I went with him to learn. So he was my instructor. He was my best friend, and he was my business partner on all these different things. And he likes to mention that we never had one contract in any of those situations. So, I'm not suggesting people do that. Don't get me wrong, but we've always had this kind of mutual level of respect and appreciating each other's differences and exploring those differences. And it's really not hard. It's really simple when you have those core values in place, and we've been able to do that for a long time. So yeah, I've been fortunate to have him in my circle for sure.
Yeah, and I know I'm fortunate to have him in my circle. See, guys, that's him up there on the poster right there. That is in the center of that poster. That poster is actually from 2020, and it's a Global Voices of Change poster. I've
Yes.
gone to Guyana and I've gone to Guyana, South America, and Kenya, Africa with him, and I look forward to doing something with him in the future. And I will go to everything he has in this country because I know the kind of person that he is. So I want to ask you, who is in your life now that that elevates you?
It's funny that you say that, because I was just thinking as you were saying that, we've been, you mentioned those places. It's funny because I've had people ask me before, like, what did I think about going to Africa with Ruben? And I always tell them, well, I haven't been to Africa with Ruben. And they said, what do you mean? What do you mean you haven't gone? And I said, well, it's tricky because my wife is from Europe, and we go over to Europe for quite a bit of the summer, and it always conflicts with his Africa time. I can only be gone so long, and lots of times it even overlaps. So I haven't done that with him. So there's things over the years I've kind of missed out on that he's doing, but I'm very pleased that right now he has actually been brought on as the CEO for Becoming the Better You, which, as you know, is a company I'm involved with. I'm the CFO for him. And so I'm really excited to be working with him in this new collaboration on something different. So we're kind of lighting some old fires on getting a chance to work with him again. So right now, the Becoming the Better You group is really kind of my new focus group as far as keeping me charged, keeping me engaged, keeping me motivated. And it's nice to have him actually be a part of that group now as well.
Yeah, that is phenomenal. So I have to ask, well, I don't have to ask, but I do for the people out there. Can you tell us a little bit about Becoming the Better You and tell everybody what it's about and how they can possibly get involved? Because let's face it, everybody wants to become a better you. And if you're not trying to become a better you, what are you doing?
Of course. Yeah,
Because everything in life comes with growth.
I
And
agree.
when you're not growing, you're dying.
I agree.
So
100%.
you gotta become the better you.
There's actually, I'll talk about Becoming the Better You, but I just want to kind of mention there's actually a book called The Slight Edge. I think Jeff Olsen was the author of that one. And he talks about that with growth. And sometimes people think that they're kind of just maintaining. And he says that he challenged that because he says the choices that we make every day, they're putting us on a trajectory. And that trajectory is either going up or it's going down. We're not maintaining. So any choices and actions that we're taking today will influence tomorrow. The problem is sometimes they're small enough you don't see the changes. And so if you're trajectorying down, that's a bad thing, but especially because you don't know it. You got to span that out like a year, 5 years, 10 years. The great thing is if you're trajectorying up, same thing, you span that out. But you have to be, as you said, growth is where it's at. And we have to be very cognizant to make sure we're growing in the direction that we want to grow. Now, becoming the better you is that medium for that. I love the concept behind it. I love what you said. Everybody should be thinking about that. And it doesn't matter where you're at. We're all at different levels of our lives, whether it be spiritually, whether it be financially, whether it be health-wise, whatever it is. But we can still look at ways to try to improve it. And that is what's great about becoming the better you is it's an eclectic group that comes together with that mindset of becoming better versions of themselves and helping other people become better versions of themselves. And I mean, it's becomingthebetteryou.com. Go to it, get involved. Brenda Ringwood, who founded that organization, just a phenomenal woman, put some great people together to accomplish some amazing things. So becomingthebetteryou.com. Happy to be a part of that movement, that mindset, and that company.
Yes, becoming the better you has really become an awesome thing in my life. Now, I wasn't able to attend last year's because I was speaking in Pennsylvania the same weekend, but I'm sorry I missed it because I love that stuff. Even if I just get to sit there and listen to the speakers and stand up and cheer for them and scream for them, that's just something I like to do. And I'm sorry that I missed it this last time, but
it is what it is. But they're hitting they got a big tour going on this year. I've had to actually miss a few of the first ones this year as well, just schedule conflicts and whatnot. But I know we'll have another big annual event in September, and better believe I'll be at that. So
yeah, that's cool. So I keep saying tonight, but that's a thing that he understands because we're both part of the black belt speakers. And one of the things when I first started was not to say and people would, if you were in the room, people would actually yell what, and it was just, I don't know, I took that kind of a little seriously. But
it makes you realize how many times that people say it though when they're speaking, or especially public speaking. Yeah, that word comes up a lot.
Definitely. So we need to. All right, let's shift back for a minute.
Yeah,
and we're looking at how you actually took the lessons from your martial arts and used those to help yourself become a millionaire.
Yeah. I believe it was through a martial arts organization we were involved with. It's too long a story for this interview, but they were kind of just talking about decisions that martial arts business owners make, school owners make. And I believe it was through that organization that they talked about this one book called The Millionaire Next Door, written by Dr. Tom Stanley and William Danko. And I had purchased that book and read it. And the long and the short of it is it's a study of people who have high net worths in the United States. And what was really interesting about it was they thought it was going to be one demographic, and what they discovered is it was not. They expected it was, these people wearing Rolexes and coming in with yachts and all this different stuff. And they'd actually even, I remember reading the book, they set up a kind of a meet and greet, and they put out this nice big spread to appeal to the high net worth people. And they had caviar and champagne, all this stuff. And they said they had it all on the table, and they said nobody was touching it. And they were already shocked because they were coming in kind of in normal clothes, and Timexes on, different things. And they were like, that's kind of odd. That's not what we expected. And then they said nobody's touching the food. And so one of the authors actually went up to somebody and said, hey, we got this caviar. And he goes, I've never really had caviar. I don't know. I'll pass, And well, we got this champagne. He goes, I don't really drink champagne. And he goes, well, what do you drink? He goes, well, I drink two kinds of beer, Bud Light and Free. And if you have one of those, I'll take that. So what they discovered was the people that had the net worth it's just like the book was called, The Millionaire Next Door. It was the guy that lived right next door to you that you never knew it actually had a net worth of $1 million or more. And yeah, there's high income earners that buy a lot of expensive things, but they weren't able to have the net worth. In fact, they even have a formula in there talking about, depending on how much money you make, what your net worth should be based on kind of an underachiever, an average achiever, and an overachiever of accumulating net worth. I'm happy to say that I'm actually in the overachiever section of that formula.
Oh,
that I've done. Yeah. It's, it feels good, but it really, that's what I say. It's really nothing that's too crazy. It's just getting yes, the martial arts that introduced me to that book. And then of course, several other books after that, but the martial arts discipline, training, and mindset certainly was an advantage when transitioning that into some of my financial decisions. Any serious martial artist will have a relatively good relationship with discipline, or should. And yeah, it was easy to kind of transfer that over into some of my financial decisions. But at the same time, my wife got on board with it. We had conversations surrounding what we want to do, really for tomorrow, for delayed gratification, understanding the time value of money, understanding compound interest, understanding how if we sacrifice a little bit today, that'll pay dividends tomorrow. And it's really nothing magical. It's just knowing the information and then sticking to it. And martial arts help with that for sure.
That is so cool. Now, I would like to ask you, you were talking about a financial course, and you also told me about a new book that you have out. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
It is, I'm really pleased. So actually my financial course that I've been teaching out of for years, I actually finally just got it published into a book. And actually I have one right here just because I thought you might bring that up, but it is just the Wealth 101 personal finance course by myself. And it is really all the stuff that I when I work with individuals.
Wow, that's thick.
It's got some good information in it. I mean, it's 7 different modules. It's really interesting because it's not as much about money as it is. I mean, it's about 20% money, because let's face it, personal finance, we talk about it, how it's really not taught in schools, but I beg to differ, because we learned addition and subtraction in grade school. That's really personal finance, But when people struggle with their money, there's something larger going on. So I deal with that kind of Pareto's law, other 80% part. So 20% about money, 80% about you and what your relationship is like with money. So we go through 7 different modules in the course, your 4-wall economy, controlling what you can control. It does have saving, investing, and strategy, but it's all the stuff that I work with individuals. I put in textbook format, and I'm really pleased to have in this format because it's easier to get to people. I had, 3-ring binders that I taught out of before, and this is easier. It's on Amazon, so people can get access to it very much easier. So pleased to have it in that, but it is really all the stuff that I did. I went from a negative net worth. I say I became a millionaire, but it wasn't overnight. It was a 10-year goal.
10-year goal?
It was an ambitious 10-year goal when you really think about it, to go from a negative net worth to a millionaire. But I set the 10-year goal. I was 30 at the time. I said, by the time I'm 40, I want to be that millionaire next door. We measured our net worth at the end of that year at 40, and we'd hit it. And by 50, we were multimillionaires, and we're keep going. And it's really, the book is all the stuff that we did as a couple, as a family, to make those changes in our lives and to have success with it.
All right, that is fantastic. I know a lot of people out there would like to become a millionaire, but I don't know that they actually want to make the sacrifice that it takes to become that person. So what kind of sacrifice does it take to become that?
Let me answer that twofold. Number one, I'll say that what you said earlier, you don't have to become a millionaire, but you can still be a better you, working on being a better version of yourself when it comes to money. Millionaire was a goal that we set. What it really comes down to is giving yourself options later on. It gives you more options when you're not tied. Too many people spend time doing what I call, and this is one thing you have to kind of watch for, is what I call chasing the 10%. Money has a funny way of defining our worth. And when I talk about net worth, I said that doesn't mean self-worth. And you could have no money and still have a good amount of self-worth. Money is just a tool. And so lots of times people get caught chasing the 10%. They think if they have 10% more money, they'll finally be happy, or 10% more house than they currently have, or 10% more car, 10% more time off, 10% more time with the kids. Everybody's chasing that 10%. But the absurdity is you never catch it because you're chasing it. You're always 10% behind.
Yeah.
So instead, what I challenge my readers and students to do is take a look at what your real goals are and work a formula to hit those goals. Quit chasing that 10%. We base some of our financial decisions based on what other people are doing and different stuff. It doesn't really matter, but quit chasing that 10%. So for us, it was like, let's not do this. So for a while, for us, when we were younger, we didn't have cable. We just chose that was an expense we didn't want to have. So we cut out cable. It's different now because we got different streaming platforms and all that. It's just a different time, but we didn't have cable. We didn't eat out a whole lot. We tried to reserve some of that. It was an expensive way to put fuel in our bodies, and we knew that. We didn't go to the movies a whole lot, but we did do other things. Like I remember, I talk about this in the book. We bought some rather expensive bicycles, and it seemed counterintuitive to what we were doing. But I told my wife, "Look, let's buy these bikes. They're a one-time expense." And if we want to go entertain ourselves, we'll go for a bike ride. And if the weather's nice, so now we're outside riding bikes, we're getting exercise, we're getting fresh air, we're not having an expense involved with that. We're having conversations with each other that we wouldn't have sitting in the movies next to each other. So there's just kind of different, it's just a different framework, different way to look at things. But the sacrifice is tricky because the sacrifice sometimes really comes with a lot of rewards that we just don't think about. It all comes down to our frame of mind and what we're willing to give up.
I don't think that a lot of people are going to take on those sacrifices, though. And that's what I appreciate what you do. And I appreciate the way that you talk about you're always chasing that 10%. Like you think once you get that, you'll be happy. But my thing, which I'm not trying to say that you're wrong or anything, I'm just adding to it. My thing is you can be happy with what you have.
Absolutely.
You
That's
just right. Have to actually realize what you have, because you might not be a millionaire, but chances are you're rich right now.
Exactly right. And I even like the word wealthy better. Yeah, you're wealthy right now. You may not have a lot of money, but you can be wealthy. And I agree with you 100%. That is exactly right, Jeff. It is about appreciating. When you change the lens from quit chasing things to make you happy and to realize and appreciate all the stuff that you can be happy about. I mean, what you have, other people would love. They're in different situations. They'd love what you have. I remember saw this little cartoon. It showed the guy, sitting in his sports car, and he looks out and he sees the helicopter up there. He says, "Man, I wish I had a helicopter." And then there's a guy parked next to him and just this average car. He looks over, says, "Man, I wish I had a sports car." And then there's a guy over there on a bicycle that looks at him and says, "Man, I wish I had a car." And then there's a guy at the bus stop says, "Man, I wish I had a bike." Then there's a guy in a wheelchair sitting up on a balcony saying, "Man, I wish I had legs." It's so relative. It's so relative. And if we can learn to appreciate what we have and put value in that, whatever it is, there's so many things we take for granted every single day. But if we could pause and look at the things we have to be thankful for, you're absolutely right, Jeff. Then we would find that we have a lot to be appreciative of.
All right, last question, because I know we're running over time right here.
Yes,
But
sir.
so, what exactly does make every second count mean to you?
It really, that's a great question. And here's what it means to me. And it's kind of that balance that I try to live by a little bit differently. But, as you know, all we have is this second. That's all we have. And I always try to go with what I feel like is the proper balance of life. And it varies for everybody. But I always just tell people, reflect on the past, plan for the future, but live in the moment. This moment is all we have. But we can't live there totally, because tomorrow may come. We have to plan for that, but reflect on the past, plan for the future, live in the moment. That's what make every second count means to me. Finding that balance, I think, creates success in life.
You just said it all right there. I thank you so much. You took what? You took the time out of your busy evening to be here with me, my people, and I am appreciative of that. I also want to say thank you for watching and commenting to my dad, Robert Brooker, Carrie O'Reilly, and Ben Bruce of Fame Jr. And we thank you guys so much. We hope you have a fantastic evening. But you guys all have to do me a favor, including you, Kevin.
Sir.
You have to make every second count. Why? Because you never know when those seconds are going to run out on your one life. I say when and not if, because it is guaranteed that their seconds are going to run out. And we do only get that one life.
Make it your best life.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, I'll see you back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, you have a fantastic week. Thank you again, Kevin.
Thanks for
I'll
having me
see
on,
you
Jeff.
soon, I hope.
Yep. Thanks so much. I appreciate you.